Welcome back. We're very happy to be here with you. Amy and I are here this week, and we're going to continue in Matthew's Gospel with the 33rd. I cannot believe I am saying that. It's the 33rd week in Ordinary Time. The next week is Christ the King, and then Advent, believe it or not. The new year starts. And we're going to go from we're in A this year. We're going into year B next year. So Amy's going to continue here from Matthew's Gospel.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus told his disciples this parable. A man going on a journey called in his servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to a third 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. Immediately the one who received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5. Likewise, the one who received 2 made another 2. But the man who received 1 went off and dug a hole in the ground and buried his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came back and settled accounts with them. The one who had received 5 talents came forward, bringing the additional 5. He said, "Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more." His master said to him, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy." Then the one who had received 2 talents also came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more." His master said to him, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you were faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy." Then the one who had received the 1 talent came forward and said, "Master, I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant and gathering where you did not scatter. So out of fear I went off and buried your talent in the ground. Here it is back." His master said to him in reply, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I do not plant and gather where I did not scatter. Should you not then have put my money in the bank so that I could have got it back with interest on my return? Now then, take the talent from him and give it to the one with 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And throw this useless servant into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So we have this idea here in this that what I come back to is God is trying his best in Jesus Christ to remind us that we are to produce, we're to invest, we're to put our energies and our talents to work. This idea that God has given us, so we're supposed to pour out. It's interesting is we hear these kind of analogies and stories sometimes, is that currency in heaven is gained on earth in pouring yourself out in love for one another, in sacrificing. The person who goes into heaven with less has more there. And there's a funny story. It's kind of funny with the woman who lived her life very much like the third person and just held on to everything. Goes to heaven and they give her a little tiny little mansion, tiny little mansion, and she's got these opulently adorned mansions around her. And she says, "Well, why do I have a small little mansion?" And the angel or whoever is in charge says, "Well, that's all we could build with what you gave us." and it's an imperfect story, but it teaches the idea that the less we have because we've poured it out, the more we gain in heavenly currency. And we're to work on those things that build up the kingdom. We're to work on those things that last forever. We're to work and do those things in this world that may be invisible to anybody but ourselves and God. We're to do those things when it benefits the least of us, most especially. We're to give. And it's not always easy, and it's not always possible for us to give. But when it is, we ought to. We ought to do the best to do so. And that does a great deal of good for people. Anybody who's ever received a gift understands the greatness of giving a gift to somebody. It does the giver good. It certainly may do the receiver good too. We always say it's better to give than to receive, but I don't mind receiving gifts either too, because if we have an awareness of how we don't deserve the gifts we've been given, then it affects us in a positive way. And I've always said that about my ministry, or my share in the ministry, by saying we don't deserve the love and mercy of God, and we serve Him, and then we often along the way receive the generosity of people who we can't repay, and that shapes us and makes us better in a profound and wonderful way, and it's always a beautiful experience when we have those things that people were so generous. So we, at the end of our day, really, as ministers, are just trying to encourage generosity of people. And we hear that there's a lot of things to give money to, and I try to keep in the parish here, for example, a very simple attitude towards giving, which is the parish has three things. We have a parish school, we have a diocesan appeal, and we have a collection every week. And those are the three main ways. And then we have refugees, we have missions, we have all these other things that come up that are usually one-off type realities for us that we need to keep in the back of our mind. But then you have all of the non-religious institutions. We have a retreat center here in our parish. We have the United Way. We have all these other different organizations that people might be giving to that benefit. St. Vincent de Paul Society, things like that around here, and I'm still only mentioning the ones that are donating and building up the ministries we have here. But we have many many opportunities to encourage and be generous, and that's really what we're trying to do. This reading today is just a wonderful reminder to us that we're to develop. We're to constantly work on taking what God has given us and figuring out a way to give back more than what He's given us. Someone a long time ago just said to me, when I was just starting to work and I wasn't a priest yet, but I was just starting to make money and things, says, remember, you only make so much, so you've got to save some, you've got to invest some. I think I don't. He told me not to gamble, but I know people do that too. So we do that. But it's like one of those things. But anyway, I think that's an old joke from some comedian that I've forgotten. But anyway, so we have this great idea that we're to be wise, we're to be prudent, we're to be protective of our resources, but above all of those things, we're to invest them in other people and in the ways in the world around us. It helps build that up. You have no idea. It's really a wonderful, wonderful thing. So without going on too much, we'll talk about that. We also have Christ the King coming up next week, and that's the end of the liturgical year with the tremendous, I think it's the great, can you see, Amy? I think it's the great final judgment from Matthew. Almost certainly it is. I just double check because my brain gets confused very easily.
Yes, when the Son of Man comes in His glory.
Yeah, and beautiful, beautiful reading that scares people a lot, and that is used sometimes in a manipulative way. We use it to help us raise money and things like that, and I don't really care for that use. But again, a great reading, a beautiful reading, a beautiful vision of what it means to be a people of God, the people of God. Beautiful vision. And it's derived a little bit from Isaiah and everything, but it's a wonderful, wonderful reading that ends the liturgical year. So, kind of brief today, I feel like I have, unless we've, how long have we been talking?
Over 9 minutes.
Oh, over 9 minutes. So it's not brief at all. I'm sorry, I must have fell asleep for a few moments. But we hope wherever you are that you're enjoying a beautiful autumn day like we are here, and that you and your part of the world are doing just very well. Keep praying for peace in the world. Keep praying for peace in our hearts, and keep praying for all of those who are especially in need of our prayers today, who are dealing with great challenges. So thank you very much, and we will talk to you for the last week of the year in just a couple of days.